Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Welcome back to another episode of the Battle Buddy Podcast. Today I have Peter with me, and we're going to talk about some awesome benefits, especially for those veterans who are getting up there in years and need a little extra assistance in life. So, Peter, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Keith. I look forward to being here.
Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Peter.
Well, I work for a nonprofit agency called Veterans Advocacy Associates, and we assist senior veterans in getting all the benefits they deserve.
Awesome. So those benefits, those are for people going into assisted living or who need extra assistance, somebody coming into their house, equipment and stuff like that. So can you outline kind of what that looks like? I know it could be different pictures, but.
Sure. There's a little known benefit referred to as aid and attendance. And this benefit is designed to get senior veterans a little bit of help with their medical and care expenses. And that care could be at home. That care could be in assisted living. It could be provided by family members. It could be provided by professionals, neighbors. Anybody can provide the benefit. And it's a little known benefit, and it's great for anybody over 65.
So other than people over 65, just who qualifies? Just veterans over 65 or any other stipulations?
To qualify, you have to be over 65, and you have to have served one day during a wartime period. You could be the veteran, or you could be the surviving spouse, and you are eligible to receive this benefit.
Yeah, I know when we talked a few weeks ago, that time frame where there wasn't a war is what, like 4 years. It's slim. Like it's the only time that our population.
Yeah, between Korea and Vietnam is the biggest period we have. So
yeah, not very long, really, which. Kind of a sad thing, unfortunately, the way our history's gone. So, so does a veteran have to be in the VA system to be able to use this?
They do not. They do not have to. They could use their own doctors. They do not have to be registered with the VA at all. We will assist them get the documents necessary to qualify. To qualify, there are financial criteria and income criteria, but in general, we assist the veterans understand it and work to get them qualified. It's not a cap that you're not allowed to have X amount of income. It's just a ratio and formulas, and we plug everybody into that ratio formula and pretty much get most people qualified. We've got a 98% success rate. We've been in business now for 15 years. We've done over 8,000 cases, and very pleased that 98% of them we were able to get through the system. And
you know what? If you got a 98% success rate at anything, I think you're doing something pretty good. You got some systems down.
The VA being the bureaucratic organization they are, you have to know the system. And doing this as long as we know the answers they want, the words we want, and how to position every case we have to get the maximum qualification.
Yeah, it's quite the system. I don't care what part of the system you're trying to get answers in or get help from. It's one of the problems. It just feels like you're banging your head off a brick wall every time you turn around. So, you just got to find that groove, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a marvelous, marvelous organization for the benefits that they bring to our veterans.
They do, but it makes it really confusing. Yeah. I know just being in real estate, the VA home loan, and there's so many questions about it. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find the information. You got to read through pages upon pages of VA documents and stuff like that sometimes to even find the answer. And that's just one little aspect of it. So
it's as good as they are. I mean, they are there not to give money away, but to protect the money. And they will ask questions to make sure that you qualify. And very often people answer the question innocently, thinking they're answering it correctly. and they're denied, and they have no reason or no knowledge of why they were denied. And we've got to understand the questions and the answers to get the benefits we deserve.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to say that when it comes to benefits, like you're a person trying to get benefits for your needs, but yet, yeah, they do have to, like you said, protect the money. They have their system and their rules, and you just kind of have to find that path through that and figure out what works.
Right.
Because, I mean, you can goof up and say, the wrong thing. I know going through the claims process, like, a lot of VSOs will advise you, like, okay, what are your symptoms? What do you deal with? Like, okay, you need to make sure that you tell them exactly how this impacts your life.
Exactly.
Don't just go in there and be like, oh yeah, I mean, it happens sometimes. Like when it happens every day, like you're not gonna have success that way. Or if you check the wrong box, it's just not gonna get flagged in the system right, and it's not gonna go through. So
when we spoke last time, it was really important to know that the VA's really got two systems or many systems of benefits. And there's one category called disability. And in disability, you had to serve, your injury had to be as a result of your service. With aid and attendance, it has nothing to do with your service. And you did not have to be in combat. You could have been in St. Louis during a wartime period. You could be driving your RV around the country, but still get the benefit because you need a little help from your friends. It's not bedpans and polio shots, right? It's just, I need a little help. I have trouble cooking. I have trouble making my bed. I have trouble getting to the grocery store. If you've got trouble, then this benefit will get you the extra funds to get you the support you need. They don't supply you with the caregiver. They give you the money to help pay for the caregiver. And if you're a married veteran, you can get as much as $2,431 per month tax-free. And that's going to take quite a bit of burden off your family in providing care for you. A single veteran qualifies for $2,050 per month, and a surviving spouse can qualify for $1,318 per month.
Well, thank you for highlighting that, because I was going to ask about that. But that's huge because, I mean, I know I'm young, but I've had a lot of family members who have, gotten old and passed away, and you see all kinds of things that just happen as you get older. It's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Some people just get, with modern medicine, they just live longer and longer.
Well, we are.
And there's you just never know if you're going to live long or not. But I mean, I've got a friend who's 98, World War II veteran, still lives at home, still drives. A little hard of hearing these days, but he still volunteers, with our local honor flight network. You can't stop the guy, but I've even seen like him and other friends and families and people, eventually everybody's going to need help with laundry, cooking, cleaning, getting up out of bed, maybe bathing, or just a driver to drive you around. My grandmother
lose their driver's license and they need a little help.
My grandmother, who passed away about 10 years ago, she made it. She was about 86 when she passed away. She made it almost to 80 without an accident. Not one accident, not one speeding ticket. And then all of a sudden, like overnight, it was, oops, bumped into the garage, tapped another car, got in a fender bender, somehow scratched the bumper. Like, it was like, whoa, like what? Like, grandma probably shouldn't be driving now. Let's take the keys away, and because she was super proud of the fact that she had never, not once ever been pulled over, not been in one accident, nothing. But yeah, eventually everybody's going to need some assistance. It's just a fact of life.
And the VA recognizes that, and they want their veterans to live with dignity, and therefore they provide them with the funds to be able to live in dignity. Now, you're not going to be, fat, dumb, and happy, but you're going to be at least hold your head up and say, hey, I earned this benefit. I served the country, and the country's helping me now live with dignity and with my friends. And that's very important. I think, Keith, it's important that, we handle veterans all over the country. In fact, all over the world. You could be in any place in the world that is a United States province or state, and we will help you get the benefit. We do most of our work over the phone. We don't have to have a face-to-face appointment. We make the process quite easy. And it's veterans are so happy that we're there to help them hold their hand.
Yeah, no, that helps, because I could not imagine trying to take on the VA by yourself.
Boy,
Well,
yeah.
especially, you talk about age 65 and up, and you think about people who really need, the help, that might be in their 80s or 90s and don't have technology. Maybe they don't have a smartphone or know how to use the internet. I don't even know where I would begin to turn, because Google is my best friend. And if I didn't have Google, I guess if you never had it, you don't know what you're missing. But how do you navigate this and stay up on changes as a veteran if you don't have access to that, without having somebody to say, "I got you.
Yeah,
It's fine. And I'm here to hold your hand." So,
and explain the options. There's options available, and does it not only with just the VA benefit, but how does that VA benefit integrate with Social Security, with Medicare, with Medi-Cal? If I do this, what happens to that? And those are all issues that have to be walked through strategically to get the maximum benefit for yourself.
Yeah, I never even thought about that, but yeah, that would require a lot of careful planning.
Yeah.
Last thing you'd want to do would be to jump on one benefit at the risk of the other one, having a negative outcome or change to it, and then go through all this work just to find out that you're, losing money or losing a benefit. That would suck. That would be bad.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of things to navigate there. So you mentioned something earlier, and now I'm curious, because I'm a curious guy. You said you help people all over the world. What's the farthest person you've helped away geographically from yourself?
Would be Guam.
Guam. Okay. All right.
Yeah. We've helped a veteran in Guam. I mean, they retired out of service in Guam, and they get the benefit, right? They need care. They're a citizen, and they're protected. So we get them.
That's a little ways away. Guam is not the place I would think of to settle down for the rest of my life, but to each his own, right?
Yeah.
So how long does it take to go through this process and file everything on average?
Well, there's two phases. We have to go through the application process, collecting all the data. And that on an average takes, 2 to 3 weeks for you to get your doctor's report, get the DD-214, understand your financial status, etc. And then once we file with the VA, the average right now is between 90 to 120 days. We say we would not have filed the application unless we were very, very certain they're going to be approved. So you can at least have that level of satisfaction. Then it's going to take about 90 days. VA will process the application, and then you'll see money in the bank. The VA sends a letter to say that you've, what we call the approval letter, or and they send that day. The same day they send money, and money travels by wire, and my mail goes by mail. So guess what gets there first?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of funny that they do it that way. I was thinking as you're saying it, like, yeah, well, that letter is going to be 2 days late.
Yeah.
So, but
it's amazing. I got calls, 8:00 in the morning. Peter, guess what? Money showed up in the bank. Yay! I'm so excited.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned DD-214, and that kind of sparked a thought. So my stepdad is a Vietnam vet.
Mm-hmm.
And he had mentioned that many years ago, I think sometime in the 70s, maybe early 80s, there was a records depot in St. Louis that caught fire. Okay. And getting some records for some people is difficult. Have you seen a lot of that where people don't have their DD-214 or other records?
Well, for two, they lose it themselves, and then we have to go to the national records to find it. And generally now they've overcome that burden. They've been able
Okay.
to not necessarily find the actual DD-214, but they find sufficient records to establish that yes, service did exist, and they're able to provide a document to support that.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
very, very rare we're not able to support a veteran with something, even if it's a travel pass to say, here's my log that I was on leave X period of time, is very often a sufficient trail to follow to find the documents necessary to file.
Yeah. Well, that's why they say, like when I was in, I was advised keep every document possible, and most of which I have digitalized at this point as well. But I keep them locked up in a safe, fireproof safe. I've got multiple copies, digital copies in different places, because I was thinking about that because my stepdad told me about that a long time ago, and I was like, yeah, I want to have my own records. I don't want to rely on the government. Of course, in this day and age, it wouldn't be a paper copy that'd probably be lit up and fired. It'd be a server that would melt down. But you never know what's going to happen.
It's amazing. NPRC, is still very, very much a paper in the file cabinet organization.
Wow.
You don't plug in your social security number and up pops the DD-214. They actually physically go into the warehouse and walk down miles and miles of filing cabinets looking for it. So, people that say, oh yeah, I think my husband was in Vietnam, can you find these records? It's like, man, you don't know what we're looking for here.
Yeah. Man, you think about it, can be a lot of records for a lot of people. Cause I think there's something like 18, 19 million veterans, in the United States right now. And, a good vast majority of them are in that 65 and up range. Between Vietnam, Korea, and World War II. So, I'm sure none of their stuff is digitalized. Not their service records. Maybe right. VA medical records and stuff since then, obviously, but it'd be a lot. So,
they're slowly digitizing, but it's still long way away.
Yeah, that would be a monumental task. Hey, keeping up on my own stuff for my own house and my own business to keep that stuff digitalized takes work. So I can only imagine how many people and the resources to digitalize, over, probably 100 years worth of records, right. Who knows how far back they've got. So I'm sure with National Archives, it goes back a long ways, but so is there anything else that your organization helps with, or is it just the aid and attendance stuff? Or?
Well, that's our specialty. I mean, we really help with anything. And if a person needs help with disability, we'll help them with that. If a person needs a wheelchair, we'll help them with that. If they need work, if they need accommodations, but we specialize in that senior category, helping them find caregivers, helping them find assisted living organizations, and most importantly, helping them find the money to get what they need and deserve.
When it comes to the assisted living facilities, what in your opinion makes a good one versus a bad one?
Well, that really depends upon your requirements. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
There are assisted living communities that's like 5-star resort, where every day they've got activities and they got buses taking you to the casino and buses taking you to the beach and going down, etc. And
that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, we're not signed up for that.
Some of these places I go into, it's like they got 50-yard swimming pools and gymnastic organizations. And, I'd move in tomorrow if I could.
Exactly.
Now there's other people that, why do I need to pay for that? I can't even get out of bed.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that becomes the second level of what your needs are. Diet restrictions really happen to determine what you want in your assisted living. Do you like the food they cook?
Well, I mean, that's an important aspect to think about.
Sure. We recommend everybody go have a meal there before you sign the contract.
Well, maybe check out the environment too. I mean,
check out the environment.
As a realtor, you never know. You don't want to go into a facility where your room might be next to the railroad tracks, and hear a train go by 3 times a day, unless you like that noise, or close to the airport.
how far is the community away from your loved ones? I mean, will they have to drive a half an hour to come and see you? You may be very happy, but they don't like. They're only going to see you once a month because it's too hard to get to you.
Yeah, good point.
So that has a lot to do with it. Then the final comes to they have memory care, and memory care is a whole different service level of the kind of need you need. It's got to be a protected environment that you're not going to go wandering out the front door and get yourself hurt.
Yeah, I've toured a couple of facilities like that where like one wing is not memory care. It's very open, kind of floor plan, almost like a hotel in a lot of cases. You got your door, you got your room, right? But yeah, the other side is almost locked down. I hate to say it, but almost like a prison. There's a door that's locked, key code access, somebody on staff all the time. Because you hear about it. Like I know in my community, we got like 30,000 people here, but every now and then you see it on Facebook that the police are looking for somebody who's, elderly person with dementia or Alzheimer's, and they've wandered off, and it's like, man, that'd be scary. It'd be horrifying to have a loved one just disappear like that.
Oh, and they do, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it probably happens. Gosh, I say in my community, I probably see it once a month at least, that somebody's relative has just like disappeared, and it's like, wow, it's sad. Luckily we're a small community, so they tend to get found fairly easy. But I mean, all kinds of bad things can happen. So my grandma, one of my grandmothers, they're both passed away, but she had dementia, and I remember a story that she had this Rubbermaid bowl with soup in it, and she told my aunt, well, this is just awesome because I can cook this soup. I can just fire up the stove right here and cook it. And she was like, no, this is rubber. It's just going to melt and cause a mess all over the place, And so like that stuff's scary. You start thinking about those things. Unfortunately, she passed not too much longer after that, but you never know what kind of danger somebody can get themselves into when it comes to a memory care issue.
We hear so many stories of the people forgetting to turn off the stove. It's so dangerous. There's another category of community, which what they call board and care. And these are very often homes. And a home will have like 6 bedrooms in it. And each person will have their own bedroom with a central thing. And that has a different level of care, different level of environment. It's more community, but it's usually only 6 people in the house. And then they have
that's interesting.
two to take care, where you got a higher level of one-on-one care than you might in a large facility that will hold 300 people. Your ratio of caregiver to person requiring care is different.
Yeah,
and that's and that's based upon the length of time we've been helping these veterans. We learn all these little things and are able to help the people understand them, all those options for them.
Yeah, because everybody has a different care of need. It's through the Honor Flight Network, I've been around a lot of older vets, and it's weird as I've seen the Vietnam era vets tend to need more unique care sometimes than the Korea and World War II vets. Sometimes they just need a bed to stay in a facility, whereas some of the Vietnam vets have a lot of medical issues that require more specialized care, treatment, medical staff, a facility that can handle those needs. So it's case by case for sure.
As you say, one thing you learn is everybody's different.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure, it's gotta be very rewarding for you to have a conversation with somebody, learn about them, connect with them, and then get them the resources they need that, like, in some small or big way changes their life.
Changes their life and mine, Keith. I mean, the rewards I feel for helping the veterans I help. I mean, I've worked with veterans who landed at D-Day. I've worked with veterans who were there at Pearl Harbor, and their stories and their spouses' stories. And, it's very, very rewarding, and I'm grateful and that I'm able to do it.
Well, I am glad that you're out there doing it, and you and everybody else who works for the organization, because that's an amazing thing that you're taking care of, of my brothers and sisters out there, much older brothers and sisters. but they need it, and maybe one of these days, a long time from now, 30 plus years from now or more, maybe I'll need it. And I'm glad there'll be somebody there to help me walk through the process.
And more importantly, your spouse will benefit from it also.
Awesome. Well, I've got, for anybody who's watching, listening, I've got scrolling across the bottom, myvaa.org.
Right.
But it'll be in the show notes as well. So
Very good.
if you need to get a hold of Peter, I've got your website too there. Workwithpeterw.com. So I'll have that in there too. So if you need to reach out to Peter, ask some questions, get some help, whatever it is, it's there. So Peter, I appreciate you stopping by the show and telling us about this awesome benefit.
Well, I appreciate that, Keith. No question is too small. It's better to ask the question and understand it than not to ask it at all.
Exactly. Well, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I've heard that. There is a stupidly worded question, but not a stupid question.
Yeah,
if you don't know, that's why you're asking. So
yeah, my mother said I never got more stupid by listening.
That's a good point. So, all right. Well, once again, I appreciate you being here, Peter.
Well, thank you for your service, Keith, and I appreciate you spreading the word so we can help more of those veterans.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. If you need the help, reach out to Peter. Don't forget to check out our website, battlebuddypodcast.net, for more resources. If you are feeling down and need some help, don't forget the National Suicide Hotline number is 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255.